Good day, everyone. So we are here at last at Mount Esus. I hope that's pronounced correctly. A lot of people have actually asked for this, and we're going to be taking a bit of a more detailed look at this out of bounds region in Fontaine and giving you a bit of a view on the front, the side, and the back as well. So if you're interested in a bit of out of bounds exploration here in the Luna 1 version, yeah, then just stick around. I'll try my best to do a bit of a voiceover for you. Okay, so where do we begin? Well, effectively, once you get to the northern part of Fontaine, there's this little thing called the Paimon barrier, and once you hop over it, you'll see that you've got a lake. So this is the thing about the out of bounds areas. They're not as well refined or scoped out as the playable areas, so don't expect too much. But what you will see is definitely that from a distance you're supposed to get the idea that this mountain has a lot of forest and there is a lot of activity that goes on. You just don't know what that is. One way to get a bit of a sneak peek, of course, is to use the Paimon menu and then change the time, because usually you can get the camera to be slightly elevated then, and then you can see a bit across and above that. But effectively, as you traverse into the Mount Esus area, you can see it's mostly forest, and it's actually quite expansive. So this definitely can be a proper future region that they can add to Fontaine. There's lots of room for puzzles and playable areas, and you can see definitely that the developers have had at least some early ideas of what they want to do with this place, but other than that, it's completely barren. There's no hidden sign, there's no hidden quest or items. It's basically just forest, and the further you go into the mountain, the more rougher the terrain gets. Basically, the less of the playable area that you as a player are supposed to see, yeah, you'll see it's going to get a bit rough. But other than that, it's actually a very beautiful area to traverse with the characters. You can see I'm just going to equip the camera, getting a bit of a different view there. It certainly gives you the this kind of vibe that you can be at the top of a mountain and look across the entirety of Tevat. So I think from a fantasy perspective, that's like pretty awesome. I mean, look at some of these shots in the background. By the way, at some points in this video, I do speed up and speed down the footage just so that we're not going to sit here forever, but just to give you a bit of a sense of what you can accomplish when you're in this region. So when it comes to actually traversing up the mountain, it's not actually that easy. I mean, obviously you can just try and go straight up, and if you've got Chaska, I mean, she's just absolutely brilliant for that because she can scale vertically. But for other characters, it usually is best just to go through by the back side of the mountain and then climb up, because that's the easiest way to do and to get the elevation done, as you can see here that I'm doing with Farina. And of course, I'm also doing this a bit more to show you a bit of what happens on the if we look at Mount Esus, this would be on the western side of it. So now you've got a bit of a good idea. As we climb up, you can see the scene really starts to get like more and more beautiful. You can get more of Tevat popping up, and I wish the devs would actually when they release this region, give us the ability to have more detail pop in the background, especially for us on PC. I mean, now our PCs can handle it, and it'd be so cool if more of the region can be unlocked, and maybe if we can have some extra fog settings, that'd be like really cool, because I know there is a way to glitch this with fogs and stuff, having the no fog glitch, but it just doesn't give that like good feeling. It just makes it a bit too raw. It's almost like you want like a bit of a balance between having a bit of fog but not too much, just so that the detail can blend smoothly. Regardless, as we traverse up here with Farina, which is really very little effort, we'll get to the summit, and then once we're at the summit, you'll be able to see quite a lot of things. With regards to Mount Esus itself, what's interesting is that I almost want to say there's like a 270-degree angle if you like face it from the front, and that's like the 0-degree angle, where a lot of the mountain makes sense for you as a player viewing it, but this mountain, especially in the rocky terrain underneath there, really is not modeled well, which I'll show you in a bit. So definitely for this to become a playable area, they're gonna have to put in some work. But at least you can see here from us now climbing up a bit of another view of the out of bounds regions. I explored those in a bit of a previous video, but this gives you more of a bit of a like bird's eye view of the new Not Cry region, or the upcoming Luna, I think, free version, as well as the traditional versions. And hey, there we go, the beginning of the video. This is exactly where we were. Okay, so what I'm now going to do is just swap over to a cucosaur, because it's always fun. It's a lot easier to glide down with a cucosaur. And what we're going to do is now the eastern side of the mountain, when you look at the mountain from the Fontaine Court. And it's really, really gorgeous, because what you'll now see is a bit of a good idea of how the terrain stacks up from this side, because it's very difficult to give you the frontal view because a lot of things are hidden. But from the top here, you can actually see there is like this bit of a forest area at the top, and then we're closely going to get to the out of bounds area. And you can see now the sort of like plains that you have here. There's the Mount Esus. I've just slowed down this footage, obviously, just to give you a bit more of a good idea. But you can see it's actually very, very extensive. So lots of playability to come in the future. I've got no idea what Hoya plans, but not just the mountain. I think if you look out there on Fontaine as well, there's lots of sea or like regions there that they can still fill up. So Fontaine can potentially get, if I were Hoyo, at least 2 more future expansions, if they ever wanted to pad out the content. Maybe something where they do the mountain first and then open up the entirety of Fontaine. But at least you guys can see these little mini floating islands that there are. By the way, there's no place there to swim. I did try that with Arena out of bounds. When you are out of bounds, you can swim normally in some places under the water, but there literally is nothing. There's no coral, there's no secret wildlife or anything. It's just that. And obviously, the further and further we move away from the mountain, you'll see that the detail and the grandiose starts to fade away, and things become a lot more rough as you get that feeling from the developers, or how the developers have modeled this area. But in any case, I just wanted to give you guys a good idea of exactly how everything is like positioned. So when you stand on the other opposite banks there with the research institute and you look back on the mountain, at least now you can get a couple of different views. And I wish Hoya would give us, at least in the future, some sort of like blimp tour across this mountain, maybe a bit quicker than what the Cucosaur is flying. But you can really see Genshin as such a beautiful world. And I think once the rest of the Luna versions come out and Shnesnaya comes out, releasing Mount Esus would make so much sense, because this is going to give you, once you're at the top of the world, it just gives you such a beautiful 360 off Tevat. So it definitely deserves its hype. Okay, and here is the little backside of the mountain. It's really not that pretty. It's just rocks. There's nothing in the ocean. In fact, if you fall there in the water, you can actually fall through in certain places, and there are actual holes here in the mountain. So we're going to go through the mountain, and I'll show you what's underneath the mountain, or underneath the hood. It's just more rocks, but it's just always interesting to see what happens and exactly what the devs are up to that we don't know. I always find that this is an interesting type of post game. You've been through Genshin, you've gotten all the chests, so now we get a bit of a sneak peek as to what the devs are doing. Don't mind the Cucosaur here. This is one of the tricks I use to kind of fly up the mountain. It's like a very rudimentary budget Juska way of doing it. But yeah, certainly now, with the Cucosaur, with the rough textures, you can see the grass in the air. This is this part of the side of Mount Esus that the devs don't want you to see. And obviously from a distance you will not be able to you won't be able to see this type of detail if you're in Not Cry. Okay, and now you can see there's a big bunch of holes and gaps in the mountain, so we're obviously going to go through them. And what you'll see now in just a bit is, once we go through, you'll notice there is Marianne's place at the bottom. Here's a bit of a layer of water. Fun fact, I actually dove down once with a Koholosaurus down here, down into Fontaine. It was super funny, and then I fell infinitely, which was even more funny. Maybe, I think we've covered that before on the channel, not sure. But yeah, there's literally just now the underbelly of Fontaine. Obviously, the Cucosaur itself will just like go through all the areas. So even if there was some type of underwater region here, because if you saw my previous video, for the Cucosaur, it's as good as just like flying through the air. And what you can now see, obviously, here in the background, is just some of the structures of Mount Esus, how the geography of the terrains are actually melded together. And then if you then land or just follow the path that I'm following here with the Cucosaur, if you do know how to get a Cucosaur out of bounds with Paimon, yeah, then you can also go and explore the underwater region of Fontaine. So this is how I actually got to the starting position of the previous video, for those of you that are interested. But yeah, certainly Genshin Impact has a lot to reveal when you go out of bounds. There is so much more to the game, and I think ultimately this is what makes the out of bounds so interesting, not so much the glitches. Alright, so that's our exploration of Mount Esus. As for the upcoming future videos in Genshin, what I want to do is go back to a lot of the older dungeons, Archon quests. I've got a lot of footage out of bounds using my special fixed teleport like technique. Apparently the glitch group calls it FTP as opposed to the RTP, the random teleport, so they coined the term FTP. It's like, okay, we'll go with that. So I want to show those regions because, like I said, I mentioned earlier, post game for me in Genshin is allowing you to re-experience or re-look at areas that you are now effectively done with. It's almost like to say, what was the thought process with the developers? What did they do in creating the scenes and the visuals? And it's almost now like, you know, you want to break the illusion a bit and just get a bit more content. And that's really what all of this is actually about. It's not so much about being able to glitch the game, because I mean, glitches are glitches. It doesn't really matter. It's the types of things we can do with the glitches, the types of questions we can answer. That is what I find absolutely fascinating. So if you're up for that, please stick around on the channel, and then we'll have an absolute ton of fun, and obviously we'll do it with my little favorite Kokome. Alright, if you guys have any questions, let me know down below, and thank you so much for watching. Keep well. Cheers.